I saw a viper at our summer cottage last summer. It was in the flower bed and it lifted its head up and looked straight at me with this defiant look. So I went inside and started googling how to deter snakes to get them to leave the yard. And this first story offers a bit more drastic solution than the ones I found. There were so many snakes around this farmhouse in the woods that it was getting difficult to walk in the yard. Once a beggar came into the house and the man of the house started telling the beggar about this snake issue and asking for help. The beggar said he could help, but he asked if they'd seen any white snakes. And the man of the house immediately said no, even though they had seen plenty of white snakes, but he was scared the beggar would refuse to do anything if he knew about the white snakes. They went outside and got the helpers to carry wood and twigs in a pile in the middle of the swamp. Once it was high enough, the beggar set it on fire and climbed a tree. He was sitting in the tree and took out a whistle from his pocket. The whistle was made from the shin bone of an unborn child. And the snakes started coming from every direction. They rushed into the fire and burned in an instant, and the swamp was full of twisting bodies. Then he saw a group of white snakes arriving with the others and also burning in the flames, and that's when he knew his end was coming. Finally, a larger white snake appeared wearing armor and a crown. It lifted up its head so the man could see its blank stare from the tree. The snake pulled him into the flames, and there were no more snakes around those parts. I thought I'd combine the year of the snake and Finnish folklore by telling you some Finnish folktales related to snakes. Now, I first thought these would be some type of made-up mythological stories, but it turns out some of them are probably partly true. And people had some weird beliefs related to snakes. I got them from this book about the crown-headed snake and other Finnish folktales. The difference between folktales and fables is that fables for children and adults were entertainment that came from the imagination. But folktales were stories of pagan traditions, often related to nature, that people actually believed in at the time. And they were not meant for children. Now, the snake I saw at the summer cottage was pretty small, and I thought, well, at least it can't be that venomous. But turns out the smaller vipers are more dangerous because they haven't learned to control how much venom they use. So it might all come out in one bite. Whereas the bigger ones are more stingy with using the venom because they need it. Maybe the people in this next story knew that. One household had a big snake in the barn. It was the snake fairy of the house. The woman of the house would bring the snake milk every day. A new servant came into the house and he didn't know about the snake, so he was startled to find it in the middle of the barn. And he killed the snake. When he went back into the house, he said, "A big black snake came into the barn and I killed it." The woman of the house was terrified. "Now you killed our best cow." They went to have a look, and the best cow of the house lay dead in the barn. Now, actually, it turns out these so-called house snakes were grass snakes and they are not venomous. Vipers are the only venomous snakes in Finland. But it's still a weird tradition to keep a wild snake in the house for good luck, but apparently it's a thing some people did a few hundred years back. Now, in this next tale, there was a house far from the village that fostered a den of snakes. They were big snakes that no one was allowed to harass. They liked to stay in the yard, but when the hostess would milk the cows, the snakes were there in an instant. She would give them some milk in a cup to drink, and in the wintertime they would live in the sauna and scare the visitors because the big snakes were hanging on doors and windows and under the benches. You couldn't leave your shoes under the bench because the snakes would claim them. The daughter-in-law of the house told people in the village that when she gave birth in the sauna, the snakes were rustling around in the bed of straws. People in the village knew the snakes were some type of servants of the house. The hostess could make them bite anyone who talked behind her back, but they would protect the people and cattle of the house from other snakes. And as for the snake at our summer cottage, it's probably sleeping in the basement for the winter. Yikes. Another animal that has a firm place in Finnish culture is the goat. Watch this video to find out how goats and Santa Claus are connected. See you there.